Hello. So this one is not a story about me, but is a story sort of about John Donne, or rather a statue of John Donne. I'm not usually a big fan of statues of people, but if I had to pick a favourite statue, it would be the statue of John Donne in St Paul's Cathedral. Um, John Donne was lots of things, um, including a poet, but also he was the dean of St Paul's Cathedral for a while. And there is a statue of him in St Paul's Cathedral on top of an urn wrapped in a burial shawl, but his head's peeking out as though he is rising from the dead. And the reason it's my favourite statue is that it is the only statue to have survived from the old St Paul's Cathedral that burnt down in the Great Fire of London. And if you go to visit it, you can see scorch marks on the bottom of the urn of the statue from the Great Fire, which, if you're a London history nerd like me, is very exciting. But the idea behind his statue supposedly was that he wanted to look like he was rising from the dead on the last day. And so I was kind of inspired by this statue and this story to write this poem. Also, I think this is my favourite of the pictures that Ed has made because it's so strange. But this is called The Resurrections of John Donne. "Carve me rising," he said, clambering from his sick bed, wrapped in a death shawl. "Carve me alive, upright and tall. As my Lord rose, so I in turn will rise, so carve me rising." The statue of the poet priest, at last at peace, the blissful face, the slipping shawl, placed in his beloved St Paul's, a symbol of hope. And then the fire wilted the walls and humbled the spire, and down into the crypt, as though into the fires of hell, the statue fell. But if London thought John Donne, like other fallen masonry, was gone, imagine their surprise when they saw him rise, barely cracked. And as surely as the new cathedral rose, John Donne was back, untorched, if a little scorched. And then there was war, and more war, and then the Second World War, like no war before, brought danger back to Donne. But before he could fall, the Dean of St Paul's carried him down into the crypt again. And there they both remained. Walter Robert Matthews explained, "Our John Donne survived so much. How could the Germans ever touch him? Until the bombing's done, I'm staying here with Donne." And he survived. They both survived to once more rise out of the grave. John Donne saved, the church protected, not for the first time, not for the last time. John Donne was resurrected.